Hello and welcome everyone, I'm Madals and today I've got game number 1 of a best of 3. It's from RedBull BattleGrounds New York and it's a ZvZ. Spawning up in the top left hand position as the red Zerg player representing Quantic, it's HyuN. And his opponent up in the top right, the blue Zerg representing Team Liquid, it's Snute. So, Snute v HyuN, and the map may be unfamiliar to you. It's one of the contests that RedBull BattleGrounds had that basically make some maps, and the top ones voted for by the community would get played out, and Blitzkrieg was one of them. So let's take a little look at it. Well, for a start, there's a nice little area through here for Reapers to come jumping up. Also, a cool little sign, I pistol. Don't let Apple see that. But yeah. Basically, nice little area that you can come in. Drops can also land up here to come into the main base. That could be quite cool. Then, you've got your natural expansion coming down into what is likely to be a third down here. And the reason you take this third rather than over in this position is because your opponent always spawns in the top right. So that's where some fun things can be happening. Drops, massively effective. Airplay can also be quite good, although interestingly, Mutalisks or something like that, which since ZvZ is the only area you'd likely see, even though they can come in quite quickly, there's a lot of ground area around, so that can mean that it would be very difficult to get them in and out, especially if there are Hydralisks down. But the other problem as well is the creep spread needs to be good. You need to make sure that you fit out here, and if this was a matchup, say it was ZVT, you've always got to be concerned about a proxy in your base, because it is just so large that it could sneak through. No pointing fingers at Huck, anyone. Anyway, as it stands, the little marine statue is going to be looking over the spawning pool. Kind of ironic, but still, everything going quite good at the moment. Different openings from the two of them. HyuN opting to go for hatch gas pool. Meanwhile, Snute went for pool hatch. So, a bit of a safer opening coming down from the Team Liquid player currently, and that's a good thing to do. Going a little bit safe, nothing wrong with that. And it just means that he gets a queen out sooner, he can start zergling production sooner, and economically, many would argue, you're not in much of a worse spot than going for a hatch first. And the reason for that is because of the queen coming out at an earlier point. It just gives you such an amazing position in terms of getting the additional lava earlier on. They can be very good for you. Not to mention the fact that you could end up not having to make as many lings due to having them down earlier. So economically, you're in an okay position. So, as it stands, both players trying to get their overlords into a nice spot. Snute now identifying that his opponent did go hatch first, and HyuN already knows that Snute went for that spawning pool first. So all looking good. HyuN should be looking to get down his speed shortly, is pulling drones out of gas, but only one drone out of gas currently. So what this suggests is that he's not going for some kind of speedling play or mass expansion play, but instead is going to be looking to utilize some of this gas. Could be for a relatively early lair. More likely though for either some roaches or banelings. Banelings really the most likely option. It could still be for just some lings into a very quick lair that would allow a faster Mutalisk timing, but it does pose the risk that if your opponent is going for zergling banelings, you're going to run into problems. Now this is a money scout right now from Snute. He sees that speed's researching and also knows there's still drones in gas. I can't underestimate or can't understate how important that can be for Snute to know that that's coming. And while both players are getting down their baneling nests, Snute completely aware that his opponent is going for a bit of a some kind of a tech route, knows that the baneling nest is down, whereas Snute's is hidden down behind his natural. Now, a cool little thing for anyone who doesn't know, the reason the baneling nest is placed here, one cell away from the hatchery, is so a queen can sneak in the middle of it, so should speedlings come in, or zerglings of any kind, the queen can hide in there to minimize the surface area. Now, Snute desperately wanted to save this overlord. Should be able to do so now it's up on the high ground too. So good control there from Snute. Was going to try and pick it off, but HyuN unable to do so. Spine Crawler coming down for Snute defensively, expecting HyuN to go on the aggressive, and that's exactly what is coming down. A lot of lings have been made here for the Quantic player in total. He's got 14 down. 4 banelings have also morphed, but unfortunately they're all on their lonesome. That means one gets taken down, basically cutting out 25% of that force. And while Snute does have his own defensive banelings, he could get some very nice hits. Spine Crawler trying to do a little bit of damage. One baneling or a couple of banelings go down there, but more importantly, More pushing up and in. The main base of Snute is going to take some damage. Drone's getting pulled, but Snute has one all-important baneling still there. That's why we're seeing the speedlings bounce back and forth. If possible, Snute will get a good baneling hit, and that's what he's really banking on. Because now he's able to clean up this push, taking minimal losses. One worker died, and in total, he lost under half of what HyuN did there. So HyuN, banking quite a lot on that push, dealing some good damage, was unable to do so, and therefore with the spine crawler on its way, he's gonna have to try and mix things up. He's got his lair coming, fourth gas also through, but Snute taking a third. HyuN, seen it, is aware that it's coming. Will he respond with his own third base? Potentially. Interestingly as well from Snute, he's getting +1 carapace down. Ground carapace, hasn't taken any additional gases, just sitting on 2, and is getting out a lot of lings. So he's going for some ground aggressive play. Now what's the important thing about +1 ground carapace? It's simple. What it means is that suddenly, banelings, it takes 2 banelings to kill lings rather than 1. And it may sound a minor point, but it can make a huge difference if you are going for some ling bling wars. So, with all of that said, what more can we see come down from Snute? He's trying to sneak through this very small passage around the back to get a little bit of damage done. HyuN's own banelings though trying to chase down Snute's army. It's all getting very tense. Snute though, with a good number of lings, superior numbers, is going for a massive all-in. A lot of banelings morphing. Meanwhile though, we also see that a huge baneling detonation goes down there for HyuN, and that means that he can go on the aggressive and possibly, or almost certainly, force a cancel on that third. But without the cancel coming down, he should be able to take it out. But Snute now moving forward with all of the banelings. The Queen tanking up a lot of those damaging hits, and now it's up to the baneling to do as much damage as they can. Not many drones get taken down. The third hatchery is starting to get pretty low, but Snute rapidly trying to get some lings down there. Will he be able to save it? It's going to be incredibly close, but no, he can't. Great pick off there for HyuN. 300 minerals worth of damage done. And Snute only managed to kill 7 workers in total this game so far. Not a big hit, not too much damage. What he will be able to see though is that the Spire was there. And because he scouted the Spire down, Snute gonna try and get in a good spot. But of course, anytime you've got Mutalisks up against a Zerg player who doesn't have anti-air, it can be tough. Unless this push can deal so much damage. Spore Coolers buy you a little bit of time, but will it be enough? We've got to keep a good little eye on it. Probably not. Snute struggling to really level this out. His own lair, as I mentioned, not even started. He could only defend with spores and queens, and that can be very hard to do. All map control now in HyuN's court, and with that map control, HyuN is going to be able to pick off any banelings that come through. He's going to be able to make sure that any counterattacks get shut down, push back the overlords, denying vision for the Team Liquid player. Add in the fact that he's got defensive banelings back home, and he can just start chipping away at everything. He's causing Snute to have a heavy supply block, and that third hatchery once again getting focused down. So what does HyuN do? Well, the key thing is not to panic. Yes, there's some queens coming, but they've got to be ever so careful. Snute bringing in some Zerglings just to soak up the splash damage. It's a nice move, but the Mutalisks doing okay. A lot more queens are in production. HyuN also speeding in with some lings to try and take out this third once more. And if he causes it to get taken out again, he's going to be a very happy Zerg player. Does knock it down, and therefore Snute has now lost 600 minerals trying to secure that up, and also has got a tech disadvantage. Now, HyuN, he's attempting to add in a couple more Mutalisks to this composition, 5 more on their way. He's also getting the Overseer just to try and get a little bit more information, and now head up into the main base where there is a Spore in production, but not yet finished. The Queen's trying to make their way over too, but these Mutalisks are able to start chipping away at pretty much anything that they can get their bouncing glaives into. And this is what's causing Snute the problem, because while the Queens are putting up a valiant defense, it's actually HyuN who's got complete control of this map. We can see that he's got no vision, whereas HyuN is completely aware of anything that could be moving through, and therefore can respond as required. Drone count is in HyuN's favour, 52 to 44, and the army supply heavily in his favour. Not to mention that Mutalisk count starting to skyrocket. So the third of HyuN is not going to be able to get it down. Great little pick off there from Snute, and no cancel either. But with Spores and Mutalisks knocking at his door, is this going to be enough to really actually shut down HyuN? Because HyuN taking apart Queens now whenever he can. Got to be careful though, the Spore Crawlers are making their way forward. There's more of them on their way through, but with a lot of Lings coming in, more damage is attempting to be achieved. Snute still with the Lings, running about, but look at this from HyuN. He's got a good amount of production rolling, and he is ready to cause the pain. What is Snute's plan with all of this? Well, going for a Ling counter-attack is where most of his money is now banked, but there's a lot of Lings out there for HyuN too, and that's going to really help him. The Mutalisks going to try and pick up some of these Lings on their way back. Both players trading relatively cost effectively, and Snute doing an amazing job of holding on for as long as he has, considering that he has had no anti-air aside from Queens and Spores. Regardless though, Mutalisks and Lings now ploughing through, some Banelings there posing a threat, but that's where the Mutalisks and their map dominance is so important. Trying to pick up, or should be picking up the Banelings as soon as possible, because once they're out of the picture, HyuN's Lings will reign supreme. A good Baneling hit goes down there for Snute, but now with the Lings and the Mutas, the Queen numbers diminishing rapidly. More Mutalisks in production, more Lings in production too. This third hatchery once more taking a good beating. A Spore was attempting to go down here, but it will not be completed. And with that, this third starts losing health. A contamination comes down there from the Overseer, just preventing any more lava production. And the Lings and Mutalisks go to town. If this keeps getting taken out every time it's completed, it's just costing Snute so much. But he's trying to go for counter damage himself. Sees that HyuN was attempting to sneaky in there, but is going to be able to shut out the third attempt. But back at home, at his natural base, the Spore Cooler now being taken down, and Lings streaming through everywhere. Damage being done massively on both sides, but HyuN, just with the superior army supply numbers and those Mutalisks, may get some good damage here. He's trying to pick off anything and everything that he can. The Spores, or the odd Spores that still remain, are causing problems for the Mutalisks, and that's why we see that there's only 7 currently on the field. Unfortunately for Snute, he's losing Queens. Yes, he's got Infestors on their way through, but the Queens going down just means the anti-air is basically static, and that the production is going to be severely limited. Now, Lings attempting to attack through here, will be able to take out that Queen, not before it gets an inject down, but now out come all of these fungal growths, and this is really where the Infestors are going to try and reign supreme, but it's only a small pastime, and with good Baneling detonations, we can see that HyuN dealing with them very effectively. The Mutalisks still in the air, the drone count going, and Snute is forced to GG out. So congratulations there to Snute, winning game number 1 of this best of 3. If you like the cast, like the video, leave a cool comment and subscribe, and then jump over to game number 2 of this series on my channel. I'll catch you there.